When you cut contact, something shifts in her world. At first, she pretends she doesn't care. She tells herself she's fine, that she's better off without you. But deep down, the silence starts to echo. The absence starts to haunt. She begins to wonder, why isn't he calling? Why isn't he chasing? And that is when her true emotions come to the surface, because nothing exposes a woman's real feelings like your silence. And trust me, what she does after you walk away reveals more about her than any words ever could. When you cut contact with a woman, the very first thing that takes place within her is a battle between her heart and her ego. Outwardly, she wants to appear strong, unaffected, and completely unbothered. She tells herself, I don't need him. I can live without him. In fact, I'm better off now that he's gone. This is the ego speaking. The shield she uses to convince herself and everyone around her that your absence has no impact. But deep down, the heart has a different story to tell. And no matter how much she tries to cover it up, the heart always has a way of whispering louder than the mind can silence. In those first few days, she may act cold, detached, or even celebratory. She might go out more, surround herself with friends, laugh louder than usual, or even post pictures of herself living her best life. But this is not strength, it's performance. It's her way of putting on a show for the world, and sometimes even for herself, to prove that she doesn't care. But when she lays her head down at night, when the phone is silent, and when the crowd is gone, that is when the mask starts to slip. That is when she feels the sting of the decision you made. Because whether she admits it or not, cutting contact leaves a space, a silence, and a void that her ego cannot easily explain away. Her pride tells her to stay firm, to act like nothing happened, but her heart is uneasy. There's a quiet restlessness within her. She replays the last conversations you had. She remembers the last look in your eyes, the last sound of your voice. She wonders if she should have said something different, done something different, or acted with more care. But her pride will not allow her to admit it, not yet, so she doubles down, acting even more distant, as if to say, see, I'm fine, I don't even notice you're gone. But the truth is, she notices in the smallest ways. She notices when something funny happens and she has no one to text about it. She notices when she sees a couple holding hands and she remembers the way your hand once held hers. She notices when the silence feels heavier than the noise of your arguments. She notices because the human heart does not forget as quickly as the mind wants it to. This stage, this initial act, is filled with contradictions. On the one hand, she feels empowered because she's still in control of the narrative she's telling herself. But on the other hand, she feels unsettled because she cannot control the emotions rising inside her. She may even talk to her friends about it, convincing them that she's over you, that she's happy with the choice she made. Yet, deep down, she's waiting to see if you'll break the silence, waiting to see if you'll chase, waiting to see if you'll prove her ego right by giving in. And when you don't, when you hold your ground, that's when the cracks begin to form in her armor. Understand this. The ego is loud in the beginning, but it weakens with time. The heart, however, is quiet in the beginning, but it grows stronger with every passing day. So while she may start off appearing cold, detached, or even proud of herself, the real story is that a storm is quietly brewing beneath the surface, and it's in that storm where the truth lies. It's in that storm where her heart begins to speak louder than her ego, and where the real unraveling begins. Cutting contact is not just silence, it's a mirror. It reflects back to her what she truly feels, and it forces her to face emotions she cannot escape. When the silence stretches beyond the first wave of her ego-driven reactions, she begins to feel the weight of your absence in ways she never expected. At first it was just an act of pride, a performance of strength, but now the stillness starts to press against her spirit. She wakes up and realizes there's no good morning message waiting for her. She scrolls through her phone and notices your name missing from the notifications. She checks her social media and sees nothing from you, not a like, not a comment, not a trace of the man who once made her feel seen. Slowly, the reality of your absence becomes louder than any words you could have spoken. Because silence has a way of speaking directly to the soul, she starts to notice the little things she once overlooked. The songs that remind her of you now feel heavier. The places you used to go together carry echoes of your laughter. Even her routines feel emptier, like something essential is missing. She may not admit it to anyone, but in her private moments, she feels the emptiness you've left behind. And here's the truth. Human beings often take presence for granted, but it's absence that forces them to confront what truly mattered. She may not have valued your presence when it was constant, but now your silence forces her to pay attention. In this stage, her thoughts become her own worst enemy. The mind begins to ask questions that she doesn't want to answer. Why hasn't he reached out? Has he really moved on? Was I that easy to let go? These questions start as whispers, but over time they grow louder and louder, demanding her attention. And no matter how many distractions she surrounds herself with, she cannot fully escape them. Your absence has created a mirror, and she is forced to look at her own reflection, her choices, her actions, and perhaps her mistakes. This realization doesn't happen in a dramatic, movie-like moment. It happens slowly in the quiet spaces of her life, maybe when she's driving home and a memory sneaks up on her, maybe when she's scrolling late at night and she finds herself searching for your name, wondering what you're doing. Maybe when she sees you're not watching her anymore and it unsettles her, because once upon a time she could count on your attention like the rising of the sun. Now she sees that the light is gone, and the darkness of uncertainty makes her restless. What makes this stage so powerful is that silence is not aggressive. It's not a fight, not a confrontation, not a dramatic ending. It's just the absence of your energy, and yet that absence becomes heavier than any argument could ever be. Because arguments keep you present in her world. Even anger keeps you alive in her mind. But silence erases you, and nothing terrifies her more than the thought of being erased by the very man she expected to keep chasing her. And this is when she starts to feel something she didn't expect, doubt. Doubt about her decisions, doubt about her words, doubt about her own strength. She begins to wonder if she miscalculated, if she underestimated you, if she let her ego push her into a choice that her heart never wanted. This doubt keeps her awake at night, scrolling through memories, revisiting old pictures, replaying your last conversations in her mind. She tries to convince herself she's fine, but deep down she knows she isn't. The weight of your absence is not just about you being gone. It's about the realization that she no longer has control. When you stop reaching out, when you stop chasing, when you hold firm in your silence, you show her something she never expected, that your world continues without her. And that realization forces her to face the truth she's been avoiding, that maybe, just maybe, she needs you more than she wanted to admit. At this stage, when the silence has already pressed against her heart, and the weight of your absence has settled in, she doesn't simply sit back and accept it. Instead, she begins to act in subtle, indirect ways to test whether or not you are still watching. She may not come out and say she misses you. Her pride won't allow that, but her actions start to shift. This is the phase where she becomes intentional about drawing attention, not in a direct confrontation, but through indirect signals. And if you've ever wondered why she suddenly starts posting more often, dressing differently, or showing off her so-called independence, understand this. It's not always about her, it's often about you. She might post pictures where she looks her best, carefully curated to appear effortless. Maybe it's a photo at a place she knows you used to love going together. Maybe it's her out with friends, laughing, living life as if she's happier than ever. Maybe it's a picture with another guy, not necessarily someone important, but enough to spark curiosity. Each of these moves is deliberate, a test to see if you will break your silence, a test to see if you are still watching from the shadows. Because deep down, she knows that if you react, even with a like, even with a glance, her ego wins. But here's what she won't admit. These tests are not the actions of someone who has truly moved on. They are the signs of someone who is still invested in your attention, even if she pretends otherwise. A woman who is completely over you has no need to prove anything, but when she starts dressing a little differently, when she starts going out more often, when she suddenly discovers her independence most of the time, it is because she is hoping you are watching, because she wants to know that your silence is not permanent. Sometimes she will even use mutual friends as a tool, dropping hints about how well she's doing, knowing it might reach your ears. She might act as though she's happier than ever, but the truth is, happiness doesn't need to announce itself. Real peace doesn't need validation. When she goes out of her way to make sure you notice her glow up, it often means she is not glowing at all. She is struggling, but she wants you to see her struggle dressed up as strength. She may also attempt more subtle approaches, watching your stories, liking old posts, or finding excuses to bump into you indirectly. These are all her ways of poking at your silence, trying to break through without having to humble herself enough to reach out directly. Because reaching out would mean admitting that she feels your absence, and her pride is not ready for that step. Instead, she hopes you will be the one to break first, to shatter the silence, to confirm that she still has a grip on your heart. This stage is dangerous for her, because every attempt she makes is really a gamble. She is gambling on the hope that you are still affected by her, that her beauty, her presence, or her performance will still draw you back. But when you remain silent, when you stay unmoved, she begins to realize something she never wanted to face, that her tests are failing. And the more her tests fail, the more her confidence begins to crack. You see, tests are not just about attention. They are about control. She wants to know if she can still influence you, if she can still command your energy with her actions. But the longer you stay silent, the more power she loses. And as her control slips away, she is forced to face the truth that she can no longer pull you like a puppet on strings. And so, while this stage may look like strength on the surface, it is actually one of the clearest signs of weakness. Because if she had truly moved on, she wouldn't care whether you were watching or not. Her life would continue naturally, without the need to stage performances. The fact that she is testing you is proof that you still live in her mind, proof that your absence is louder than her presence, proof that the silence is breaking her far more than it is breaking you. This is the stage where her emotions start to spiral, and the strength she pretended to have in the beginning begins to crack under the pressure of your silence. At first, she thought she could handle it. She told herself she was in control, that she could live her life unaffected, that your absence was nothing more than a small adjustment. But as the days stretch into weeks, the bravado fades, and in its place comes the quiet torment of doubt. Doubt is the seed that grows when the mind has too much space and too many unanswered questions. And once that seed takes root, it spreads everywhere. She starts to play the what-if game in her head. What if I pushed him away too far? What if I said something that I can't take back? What if I lost something real, something I'll never find again? These questions circle her mind at night, when the world is quiet, when the mask of confidence falls away, and all that's left is her and her thoughts. And the truth is, doubt is far more powerful than anger. Anger makes her feel justified, righteous, and in control. But doubt makes her feel vulnerable, uncertain, and exposed. She replays your conversations word for word, searching for meaning she missed. She thinks about the last time she saw you and wonders if she should have acted differently. She even starts to romanticize the moments you shared, forgetting the flaws and magnifying the beauty. Memories that once seemed ordinary suddenly become golden in her mind. The way you made her laugh, the way you looked at her, the way your presence made her feel safe, these things come rushing back, not because they were always on the surface, but because absence has a way of polishing memories until they shine brighter than they ever did in reality. This is the emotional spiral, where regret sneaks in like a thief. She begins to regret her pride, her harsh words, her careless decisions. She regrets taking your presence for granted. And even if she doesn't say it out loud, even if she tells her friends a different story, deep down she feels the pang of losing something she never thought she would lose. Regret is heavy because it comes with the realization that what's gone may never return. During this stage, she may try to distract herself with other people. She may entertain new conversations, new faces, or even new relationships. But the truth is, no one can fill the space you left behind, because the silence you created carries more weight than any new connection could. Even in the arms of someone else, she will wonder about you. Even when she's smiling in public, her mind may drift to what you're doing, who you're with, and why you haven't reached out. That is the cruel power of doubt. It makes her guess not only the past, but also the present. The spiral grows worse when she sees no signs of you breaking, because part of her, even in her pride, expected that you would eventually come back, that no matter how strong your silence seemed, it was only a matter of time before you cracked. But when time passes and you remain silent, when she sees that your life goes on without her, the fear begins to creep in. Fear that you've truly moved on. Fear that she no longer has a hold on you. Fear that she is the one left behind while you grow stronger. And here lies the turning point of this spiral. She begins to realize that she underestimated you. She thought you would chase, but you didn't. She thought you would fold, but you didn't. She thought she was in control, but she isn't. And that realization does something powerful. It flips the dynamic completely, because now, instead of you being the one wondering about her, she becomes the one consumed by thoughts of you. Instead of her being the prize, she begins to question whether she let the real prize slip away. The emotional spiral is not just about missing you. It's about her confronting herself, confronting her pride, her mistakes, her inability to control the narrative, and in that confrontation, she sees the truth that the silence she thought she could handle has become the loudest sound in her life. That the absence she thought she could ignore has become the very presence haunting her. And that the man she believed would always chase her may have finally shown her what it means to lose something real. This is where everything reaches its climax, the stage where her pride and her emotions collide, forcing her to choose a path. After the ego, the silence, the tests, and the emotional spiral, she is brought to a point where she must face the truth. Your silence has power. It has either earned her respect or awakened deep regret. And what she does next will reveal which one it is. Because this is the stage where the mask falls away completely, where the truth of her feelings can no longer hide behind performance. If she truly valued you, if she truly saw your worth, your silence begins to humble her. The same pride that once made her resist you now softens. She realizes that you were not the man she could play games with, not the man who would keep knocking on her door no matter how many times she slammed it shut. She realizes that you are different, that you are disciplined, that you respect yourself enough not to beg for attention, and this respect changes everything. Suddenly, she is no longer asking herself if you miss her. She is asking herself if she deserves you back. The dynamic flips, and she begins to think of ways to reconnect, ways to show up, ways to prove that she is worthy of another chance. This is the moment where the silence becomes a mirror, and in that mirror she sees her mistakes clearly. She sees the times she dismissed you, the times she took you for granted, the times she thought she could replace you with ease, and when the truth settles in, that men of real value are not easy to find, and even harder to keep, her regret deepens. She may reach out directly, breaking her pride to send that first message, or she may show up in subtle ways, placing herself in your orbit, trying to remind you of her presence. Either way, it becomes clear that she no longer holds the power. Your silence has shifted the balance, and now it is her turn to chase. But not every woman will react with humility. Some will respond with bitterness, resentment, or denial. They will never admit their regret, never confess their mistakes. Instead, they will double down, pretending to be unbothered, pretending to be happier than ever. But deep inside, they know the truth. They lost something they cannot replace, and that bitterness is just regret dressed up as anger. Because deep down, even if she never shows it, she knows that you slipping away was not a victory, but a loss. This turning point reveals her true nature. If she was genuine in her connection with you, she will come closer, because respect and regret will push her toward reconciliation. But if her love was shallow, if her commitment was never real, your silence will expose it. She will drift away permanently, not because she doesn't feel anything, but because her pride will not allow her to admit it. And this is where you must understand the deeper meaning of no contact. It is not about manipulating her, it is about revealing the truth. It forces her to show whether she truly valued you, or whether she only valued the attention you gave. Your silence creates the final test, one that she cannot escape. And in this test, the outcome is no longer in your hands. It is in hers. Will she respect you enough to humble herself and return, or will she drown in regret, unable to admit that she lost something real? Either way, you win. Because the power has shifted, the truth has been revealed, and you no longer have to guess where you stand. This is why cutting contact is so powerful. It's not about punishing her. It's not about ignoring her to cause pain. It's about clarity. It's about standing in your worth and allowing her actions to reveal what her words never could. Respect or regret, those are the only two paths left. And whichever one she chooses, you walk away with the truth, stronger than before, unshaken and free. And this is where everything comes together. You see, when you cut contact, it is never just about walking away. It is about stepping into your strength. It is about choosing self-respect over begging for validation. It is about allowing silence to do what words never could reveal the truth, because in that silence she shows her true self. At first, she hides behind her ego, pretending not to care. Then the silence begins to weigh on her. She tests, she posts, she flaunts, hoping to get your attention. She spirals, doubting herself, replaying every memory, wondering if she lost something real. And finally, she reaches the turning point, respect or regret. If she respects you, she humbles herself. She sees that you are not like the rest, that you are a man who knows his value, and she comes back with a different posture. If she regrets, she may never admit it, but she will carry that weight quietly, knowing she let a good man slip away. Either way, the outcome is no longer your burden to carry. Your silence has given you clarity, and clarity is freedom. The beauty of cutting contact is not in what it does to her. It is in what it does to you. It reminds you that your worth does not come from being chosen, but from choosing yourself first. It reminds you that love should never be chased at the expense of dignity. And it teaches you that sometimes the most powerful statement you can ever make is to say nothing at all. So the next time you wonder what happens when you cut contact, remember this. It's not about her reaction. It's about your evolution. Because whether she comes back or not, whether she respects or regrets, you have already won. You have reclaimed your power, your peace, and your place as a man who refuses to beg for what should be freely given. And that right there is the victory.